Newly declassified documents appear to show a coordinated Obama-era plot to push the Trump-Russia narrative without evidence.
This treasonous conspiracy was directed by President Obama just weeks before he was due to leave office, after President Trump had already gotten elected.
What are the Trump administration's next steps, and will anyone face charges?
I'm Daily Wire Executive Editor John Bickley with Georgia Howe. It's Monday, July 21st, and this is Morning Wire.
President Trump is suing the Wall Street Journal over a supposed bombshell report on his connection to Jeffrey Epstein.
And a new bill would shield millions of illegal immigrants from deportation.
You can come out of the shadows with no fear and apply for the dignity status.
Thanks for waking up with Morning Wire. Stay tuned. We have the news you need to know.
I've discovered this incredible tool that gives me real-time insights into my metabolism through something as simple as my breath. It's called Lumen. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. All you got to do is breathe into it first thing in the morning and you'll know exactly what's happening with your metabolism, whether you're burning fats or carbs. Based on your measurements, Lumen creates a personalized nutrition plan just for you. Since your metabolism is basically the engine behind everything your body does, whether it's working really well, you get all kinds of great benefits. You'll find it easier to manage your weight, you'll have more energy throughout the day, you'll see better results from your workouts, and you'll even sleep better. That's a big one. It all connects back to having a healthy metabolism. I just breathe into it before and after workouts and meals, and then I know exactly what's going on in my body in real time, and Lumen will give me tips to keep on top of my health game and improve my metabolic health. It's so simple yet so insightful for creating healthier habits in my life. The warmer months are coming. Spring back into your health and fitness. Go to lumen.me/wire to get 10% off your Lumen. That's lumen.me/wire for 10% off your purchase. Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode.
Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard released a trove of documents on Friday related to the Russiagate scandal that crippled President Trump's first term in office. According to Gabbard, the documents detail a malicious conspiracy led by former President Obama to hurt Trump.
Here to talk about the D&I release is Daily Wire reporter Tim Pierce. Hey, Tim. So Gabbard just released this 100 pages of new documents. What's in them?
A lot of emails from the final months of the Obama administration. According to Gabbard, these emails show how Obama and a cabal of top officials set up the Russiagate scandal. The case is essentially this. Before the 2016 election, no evidence was uncovered that showed Russia could meaningfully hack or threaten the election. And that stayed the conclusion for weeks after. On December 7th, 2016, then DNI James Clapper's office concluded, quote, "We have no evidence of cyber manipulation of election infrastructure intended to alter results." But then a White House meeting between Obama and top intelligence officials on December 9th dramatically shifted the narrative. Here's Gabbard explaining on Fox News' Sunday Morning Futures.
The tasks that came out of that meeting was coming from President Obama directing the intelligence community, then Obama's ODNI director Clapper, to produce a document, to produce an intelligence assessment that detailed not if, but how Moscow affected the outcome of the election that had already occurred, electing Donald Trump to the presidency. This document that they published in January of 2017 was the foundational groundwork that they continued to reference over and over and over again to enact this years-long coup against President Trump.
The final product from that December 9th meeting came almost a month later. Clapper put together an intelligence community assessment on January 7th, just under 2 weeks before Trump took office, that said Russia interfered in 2016 to help Trump. Now, that assessment never concluded that Russia messed with vote tallies directly, but that Moscow used an influence campaign to, quote, undermine public faith in the U.S. democratic process, denigrate Secretary Clinton, and harm her electability and potential presidency.
All right, so one of the big questions coming out of this, will we see indictments from any of this?
Right. Gabbard says she wants to see some. To that point, here she is.
There must be indictments. Those responsible, no matter how powerful they are and were at that time, no matter who was involved in creating this treasonous conspiracy against the American people, they all must be held accountable.
But that's also not Gabbard's call to make. Ultimately, any prosecutions based on this evidence will be at the discretion of Attorney General Pam Bondi and the Justice Department. And it will be Bondi who takes the blame if any prosecution goes wrong. For their part, Democrats say Gabbard's conclusions are wrong and politically motivated. Connecticut Congressman Jim Hines, he's the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, said that, quote, every legitimate investigation found no evidence of politicization and endorsed the findings of the 2016 Intelligence Community Assessment.
But we do know that at least a couple of people that are mentioned in this are currently under investigation, correct?
Right. We learned earlier this month that Obama's CIA director, John Brennan, and FBI director, James Comey, are under investigation by the FBI. Here's Trump reacting to that news on July 9th.
I think they're very dishonest people. I think they're crooked as hell. And maybe they have to pay a price for that. I believe they are truly bad people and dishonest people. So whatever happens, happens.
It's not clear what the scope of those probes are, but we learned about them after CIA Director John Ratcliffe released a report that ripped those two and Clapper. Ratcliffe had CIA investigators review that January 7th, 2017 Intelligence Community Assessment. That review found that those three likely corrupted it for politics, in part evidenced by the inclusion of the infamous Steele dossier in that assessment.
Well, as much as we've heard about Russiagate over the years, it's going to be pretty disappointing for a lot of people not to see some accountability after all of this. Tim, thanks so much for reporting.
Good to be on.
If you run a small business, you know there's nothing small about it. Even the smallest decisions can feel massive. That's where Shopify comes in. Shopify is the e-commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world, from household names to brands that are just getting started. You can tackle all the important tasks all in one place, from inventory to payments to analytics and more. Even marketing becomes a breeze thanks to their built-in tools for running social media and email campaigns, helping you find new customers and keep them coming back. Plus, Shopify's global selling tools have you covered internationally in over 150 countries, and their award-winning point of sale connects your online and offline sales all in the same place. With an impressive 99.99 uptime and the highest converting checkout experience on the planet, you'll never miss another sale. That's the Shopify advantage. Get all the big stuff for your small business right with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period and start selling today at shopify.com/morningwire. Head over to shopify.com/morningwire. Again, that's shopify.com/morningwire.
President Trump has ordered the release of more files related to the Epstein investigation, and he's now suing the Wall Street Journal over their coverage of his relationship with the disgraced financier.
Daily Wire senior editor Cabot Phillips is here to break it all down. So, Cabot, a lot to get to, but let's first start with this Wall Street Journal story.
Yeah, on Thursday evening, the Journal published a potential bombshell report, which they say shines a new light on the closeness of Epstein and Trump. The outlet says that in 2003, 3 years before Epstein was first arrested, his girlfriend and co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell compiled a scrapbook for his 50th birthday, which included a number of letters from friends. And the Journal says that one of those letters was written by Donald Trump. While they did not publish a photo of this alleged letter, the story says they only reviewed it, they did include the full text, which includes, quote, "A pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret." They also say Trump allegedly wrote, quote, "We have certain things in common, Jeffrey, and enigmas never age." The president also allegedly included a crude hand-drawn picture of a naked woman, which he allegedly signed in a thick marker. Now, for obvious reasons, the story set off a firestorm across Washington and the country for that matter.
And what's President Trump saying in response?
Yeah, he wasted no time quickly issuing a string of social media posts vehemently denying the legitimacy of this supposed letter, saying, quote, "The Wall Street Journal printed a fake letter supposedly to Epstein. These are not my words, not the way I talk. Also, I don't draw pictures." In another post, he added, quote, "If there was a smoking gun on Epstein, why didn't the Dems who controlled the files for 4 years and had Garland and Comey in charge use it? Because they had nothing." That last part in all caps. Now, for their part, Democrats quickly jumped on this report, saying they believed it was true and further evidence of why the Trump administration has been hesitant to release more information on the Epstein investigation. They highlighted past speeches of the president's, which they say included similar language to this alleged letter, including the word enigma at least one speech. And then they pointed to doodles the president had drawn for auctions in the early 2000s, supposedly showing that Trump was someone who did make drawings like this, at least at one time. But for his part, Trump is sticking to his guns, and he is ready to go to court over this story.
Right, and now we have legal action from him. Who is he suing?
Yeah, President Trump, within hours of the story being published, took aim at Rupert Murdoch, who owns the Wall Street Journal and Fox News, among a number of outlets, writing, quote, "I told Rupert Murdoch it was a scam, that he shouldn't print this fake story, but he did, and now I'm going to sue his ass off." And That ultimately was not an empty threat. On Friday, Trump's lawyers filed an 18-page libel suit in a Miami federal court, demanding no less than $10 billion. Dow Jones, the journal's parent company, essentially said, "Bring it on," writing that, quote, "We have full confidence in the rigor and accuracy of our reporting and will vigorously defend against any lawsuit."
This apparently hit a nerve because now Trump is requesting that more files be released. What exactly is he asking to be released?
Yeah, as a sign that Trump is maybe proving that he had nothing to hide, he issued a statement saying, quote, "Based on the ridiculous amount of publicity given to Jeffrey Epstein, I've asked Attorney General Pam Bondi to produce any and all pertinent grand jury testimony subject to court approval. This scam perpetuated by the Democrats should end right now." Bondi said that she would immediately seek court approval to unseal those Epstein transcripts. Now, for context, back in 2019, a grand jury was presented evidence of Epstein's crimes before authorizing their federal indictment against him. So, presumably, those transcripts would include new details on his sex trafficking ring. But it's not going to be easy to get them unsealed, regardless of what Trump wants. The DOJ will need to jump through quite a few hoops to prove that there's, quote, "a particularized need for their release." And that process could take months. So for anyone holding their breath for big revelations here, it could be a while. Regardless, though, the fact Trump is moving on this shows that he is feeling the pressure to bring more transparency on the Epstein investigation.
Well, a lot of people feel burned from last time, but we'll see if we get more transparency this time. Cabot, thanks for reporting.
Absolutely.
Republican and Democrat congressmen are teaming up to push legislation that would allow millions of illegal aliens to receive legal status and be shielded from deportation. The controversial measure would also grant permanent legal status to DACA recipients, pushing them farther along the pathway to citizenship.
Daily Wire investigative reporter Spencer Lindquist joins us now to discuss this new effort. Hey, Spencer. So tell us about this new bill.
Sure thing. So this is called the Dignity Act, and it's been introduced by Republican Congresswoman Maria Salazar of Florida and Democrat Congresswoman Veronica Escobar of Texas. The legislation would allow millions of illegal aliens, particularly those who have been here for 5 years or longer and who do not have a criminal record beyond illegally entering the United States, to apply for legal status and work authorization, shielding them from deportations. These illegal aliens would then enjoy legal status and work authorization for the next 7 years. At the end of those 7 years, they could apply to renew their legal status. After getting that status, they would have to pay taxes as well as $7,000 over the course of a 7-year period.
What about DACA recipients? We know this also impacts them. How would it do so?
Yeah, that's right. So they would get an even better deal under this bill if it was to pass Congress. DACA recipients would be allowed to get permanent legal status so long as they did not have a criminal record. This would effectively place this group of illegal aliens on a path to citizenship. These DACA recipients would qualify for permanent legal status if they held a job for 4 years, got a degree from a higher education institution, or served in the military. And here's Salazar calling on Trump to support her legislation in a recent press conference.
Mr. President, the eye of history is upon us. Some of the most shameful moments in our past as a country relates to how we have treated immigrants who are not criminals. And we are in one of those moments. If we get this wrong, future generations will pay the price in shame. But if we get it right, the United States will continue to lead in liberty, and you will have been the commander-in-chief.
Well, hard to see Trump agreeing to this, to say the least. How has the White House responded?
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt came out the other day and suggested that the administration views this legislation as a form of amnesty, though she did state that the Trump team had not read the legislation in full. Here's what she had to say when asked if Trump would veto the Dignity Act if it made it to his desk.
The president has made it very clear he will not support amnesty for illegal aliens in any way.
Also had the chance to ask Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem if her agency had any comments on this bill and if it would impair ICE's ability to deport 1 million illegal aliens per year.
So I haven't read the Dignity Act yet, although I have talked to the Congresswoman about it. I know that she's looking forward to having some debate on this in Congress with the House and the Senate. You know, what I do and what ICE does every single day is go out and enforce the law. What we do and what President Trump has directed us to do is to make sure that we're upholding federal law and that we are making sure that it applies equally to everybody. No longer will the law apply to some people and not to others. Illegal criminals in this country are not going to get priority over American citizens. We'll continue to look at what Congress brings forward. Remember that if people don't like the law, they can change it.
All right, now, this isn't the only immigration bill that might be coming up for a vote. We also have some reports about Jim Jordan possibly floating another bill. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that's right. So there's currently some reports that Representative Jim Jordan is in talks with the White House about reviving a bill that passed through Congress in 2023 on a party line vote. That legislation would require that employers use E-Verify, a system used to check the employment authorization status of potential employees. It would also decrease legal immigration by limiting parole and asylum eligibility.
All right, so two very different immigration bills to keep an eye on in the future. Spencer, thanks so much for reporting.
Thank you.
Thanks for waking up with us. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We'll be back later this evening with more news you need to know.